Welcome ICS3C folks, lesson 1.2 on programming languages. We're just going to have a short little note here, little text note. And before we get into these few sentences that I'm going to ask you to copy down, a note about notes. I don't care what programming, what word processing program you use to take your notes. But when I'm talking away, you're typing into some program. It could be Smart Notebook if you like Smart Notebook. It's not really a word processor, but it's nice for pictures and stuff like that if you want to include pictures. It might be Google Docs that you use, or it could be even something as simple as Notepad for a lot of notes. Sometimes we want to put pictures and we can't put pictures in Notepad, but it could be Open Office or a program called LibreOffice that's on the school computers, WordPerfect, whatever program you like taking notes in and typing up your documents, you go ahead and do that. And if you would rather sort of be watching the video on your phone and then typing on the computer, then go ahead and do that. That might be more simple, but I think for most people, you'll have me chatting away in half the screen, over here half the screen like that, and then the other half of the screen you'll have you're going to be typing away with this is your document, ICS3C, blah 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 blah, and I'm talking on the other half. Right now, I'm not going to finish that off because it's going to be hard for you to read. But that's how it's going to go. That's how these notes go. So let's get into it. Programming language. A programming language is a formal, constructed language used to communicate instructions to a machine. And the machine's usually a computer. So notice, constructed language means, there's some sort of formal nature to it. There's some sort of method. Communicate instructions. Communicate instructions. So there has to be some sort of execution involved. And then we think of a program is just a set of instructions. So a whole bunch of sentences, computer sentences put together to accomplish a specific task is a program. And it says it's usually a machine, and you don't have to find these pictures, but I want to show you. These are kind of the first this might have been the first program ever. And this program, the instructions were just holes or non-holes in a piece of cardboard and then placed into this loom. A loom is something that is used for weaving and constructing carpets or cloth or whatever. But this is one of the first programs ever. A specific set of instructions used to perform a specific task, like weaving some pattern into a carpet. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video. And again, you don't have to include pictures in your note. All right, here we go. In this way, HTML, which remember HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and CSS, which we haven't talked about CSS much, but we will. Cascading Style Sheets is what CSS stands for. They're not programming languages. Well, why not? Certainly, they're formal constructed languages, all those tags, and you got to put the symbols in the right place and all that business. That's certainly a formal constructed language, but it's not this part, right? There's no instructions, right? There's nothing that tells the computer to run a command, right? There's no execution. There's no specific task. Certainly, in HTML, it ends up looking different. Well, that's the idea of a markup language. It's a formal constructed language, but it's not a programming language because there are no executions. So technically, I suppose we could say when we're doing our web pages in HTML, we're not really programming necessarily, but we are coding. So programming and coding are a little bit different. And we're going to be doing lots of both this year. We're starting with HTML and CSS, which is coding web pages, and then later on when we're doing JavaScript, we will be programming. And again, that's why HTML and CSS are not formal programming languages because they do not execute instructions or implement algorithms. And I spelled algorithm wrong there. Algorithm. Yeah, nice. And an algorithm, by the way, is just a set of ideas to solve a problem, a way to solve a problem. You follow algorithms when you solve math problems all the time. So that's not too big of a word, but we'll worry about algorithms when we get into JavaScript. JavaScript is a full-blown and awesome programming language. And what we're doing is we're spending a couple of weeks on HTML and CSS, and we're going to do some pretty awesome web page stuff. But essentially, you can't do much JavaScript without doing HTML. And so that's why we're doing HTML and CSS so we can get to JavaScript. I think that's it. Oh, no, that's not it. A couple more sentences, and again, you don't have to get the pictures. Source code is the instructions written by programmers. So when we write our HTML and it's got all the little tags, that's source code. This is source code in Java. Remember, the 3U and 4U folks use Java, and we'll see that JavaScript actually looks a lot like this. This is actually Java, but JavaScript will look a lot like that. And we can kind of read it. It doesn't look like English, but there are English words like frame, hello.action listener, curly bracket, hello button, author, version, all that stuff we can read. The computer can't. And so in order to run this program, or in order to make the web page, then the source code is changed to machine code by the software you're using to write your program. For us, the HTML is turned into machine code by the browser. So it's not like the grade 10s who are using Scratch to write their programs, or the 3U folks are using Ready to Program. We're just using the browser. The browser changes all of our HTML tags, and then it knows what to do. So the machine code is the zeros and ones. And again, you don't have to worry about getting a picture. I think that's it. Let me just peek. I think the next slide was for the grade 10s. Yep, the next slide was for grade 10s. We don't have to worry about that. So that's it. Make sure you save up your note. Put it in your Unit 1 HTML notes folder. Save that up. You'll get credit for that at some point. And then you can go on with the next thing, which I'm guessing is either Code Academy or writing some web pages.